If you don't think there's hope for the world, why bother going on?
You haven't seen the world, so you don't know. You keep going for family.
I'm not family.
No. You're cargo.
Why are you so important?
Somewhere out west, they're working on a cure. I think what really impressed them was the fact that I didn't turn into a monster.
If she so much as twitches, don't.
Okay.
If I'm taking you with me, you do what I say when I say it. You got any advice on the best way west?
Yeah, go east. You come this far, then you know what's out there.
You're not gonna scare us.
Scared him?
You have a greater purpose than any of us could have ever imagined.
Be careful who you put your faith in.
You might not be her father, but you were someone's.
You trust me?
Hello and welcome back to a new season of the Film Odyssey Podcast. My name is Salo Cicero,
And I'm Dan Dubon.
and today we are going to be discussing our in-depth thoughts on the first episode of HBO's new series, The Last of Us. So it's a new year, it's 2023 now, and it's a new season of our podcast. I'm very excited. Can't believe 2022 is now over and we are in January. There's been a few movies that I saw. I mean, I've seen Avatar, The Way of Water, like 5 times. So
Wow,
that should already tell you what I think about that movie. I got to see Megan, which I know you got to see as well.
Yeah, I saw that too. That was a interesting movie to start off the new year.
It was decent, I'll say that.
Yeah.
It's
It's good for a January movie.
It's also been great for television, apparently. HBO just put out The Last of Us, a video game adaptation, which normally does not go well at all.
Yeah. I think with TV, there's been slightly better luck though, because there's a longer format to tell stories and stuff than a movie.
Yeah.
That's typically only 2 hours. But The Last of Us has been highly anticipated by everyone, fans of the game, and just I think the general public mostly, because it's HBO doing it, Craig Mazin who did Chernobyl, so there's like a lot of hype behind this show.
Exactly.
And the first episode came out. We're going to talk about it.
And before we do talk about it, I just want to say that we also are really big fans of the original source material for this show because we've also played the video game as well. We're both big fans of the first game.
It's really great.
The story is excellent. It's addicting. I remember even you told me to play the video game, and I was so hesitant about it. And then once I played it, I just couldn't stop. I think I played it for a week, and I finished it literally in a week or two. Normally that doesn't happen. For The Last of Us, I'd say that's a really strong game for someone like me, and I'd say you as well, right?
Yeah, it really was. As soon as I started playing it, I just got, addicted to it, addicted to the story, the characters. It was all great, especially for a video game. You don't really expect a lot going into it, but I'd say it's probably maybe the best story, narrative-wise game to be released in the last 5 years.
The best, I'd say, original video game to ever be released, in my opinion. Like you said, Craig Mazin did it, the creator of Chernobyl. I recently watched Chernobyl last week to get prepared. In preparation for his new show. And even for Chernobyl, I was very hesitant when it first came out, and having it then, get into it very quickly, so I'm aware of what to expect. I loved Chernobyl. I mean, it may not be my personal favorite show, because I can't really say. I feel like there's lots of other limited series that I've loved, but for a show that does what it needs to do, it does it perfectly.
Chernobyl is really great. I mean, it's obviously kind of a depressing show to watch, but it's like really well done. You know, like the acting, the cinematography, the directing, like everything that is just great. So my expectations were high for this show going into it.
And being a series on HBO, of course, Neil Druckmann was a part of this show that really caused a lot of excitement and anticipation.
I mean, HBO is responsible for, I'd say, probably some of the best shows of the last like 10, 20 years with like, you know, Sopranos, you know, all that stuff. So
for a first episode, in my opinion, just for me, I'd say it was a decent start. There's a lot more to expect from the show, but given us just the start of it all, I liked it.
Yeah, I think it's a very good like introduction episode, right, for the characters. Like the first 30 minutes of this episode is like really, it sets you up like the world it's taking place in and the characters, and it's honestly the first 30 minutes are kind of depressing to watch.
At first, I thought to myself, like, I'm thinking they're showing so much of like their regular lives before the apocalypse than they did in the video game, and like I'm not sure if I like this, but then, you know, once it gets started, the story, I had to think about it, and I'm like, you know what, maybe it wasn't so bad because you actually get attached to these characters and it adds for more emotional depth. Like the whole thing with Joel's daughter, like basically in the video game, we play her character for like a few minutes, not even, and like she's dead within 5 minutes of the game, and all of a sudden we see Joel just mourning the loss of her. But in this, we actually follow her character a lot as if she's the main character. So I kind of understood. I'm like, they're doing this so it could be even more emotional.
You really got attached to her character for like the first 20 minutes, and then like you knew where the story was going if you played the games, and you're like, damn, this is just painful to watch. Like,
I thought to myself, I'm like, why are we focused? I'm like, this character is really good, don't get me wrong, but she's not part of the story. Why are we focusing? And I'm like, oh no, those sons of bitches, I know what they're doing. Oh, it's gonna
trying
hurt
to make
badly.
people cry in the first 30 minutes.
They're gonna really hurt us badly, and they succeeded. It really was tough to watch.
The infection part that we got of like the news broadcasters, whatever, talking about it, I feel like that was scarily accurate to like, you know, the pandemic. So that kind of made it even more like, you know, kind of scarily accurate to watch. And
what I liked about this one, though, is that in the beginning, they go to 1968 to a talk show with doctors about like viruses and how there could be one someday that's like really deadly. I like that they did that because one, it's more of an original story, and two, I like that they took the whole part in the video game where they show the introduction. I think this was the creator's idea, and they were probably wise for doing this because in the video game they make it sound so much like it was currently with COVID, and this time around they don't really go into that, like world's in lockdown, you know, vaccines aren't working. You can kind of tell that they were just like, we're already going so far, let's just, you know, take that part out because it's just a bit too realistic.
I appreciated that.
Me too. I was like, thank God they did that.
It's good to have some escapism in media, you know.
Exactly, and it helps too with the focus of the story, like the true focus. It helps.
Yeah, like the main focus of this series and the games isn't like the, you know, infection, and so I really hope that the show keeps in the direction it's going and it doesn't transition to, oh, you know, how could we save humanity, because I feel like that would completely ruin this show.
I love happy endings, but I tell you, if they do that here, they're only hurting themselves and the fans, because The Last of Us does not have a happy ending. It has a very deep and personal ending.
Now, I really also like how, like, by the time the first 30 minutes are over, we're already invested, you know, in Joel's character and, you know, what he went through, what he's currently going through, and so I really appreciate that. And also, I really like the introduction to the Ellie character, of course. I thought that was done pretty well. I know there's been some, chatter online if oh, the actress doesn't look exactly like her, whatever. But I thought, for this episode, she did a good job.
Yeah, I'll say this: I still don't see Ellie, the true character. Like for Joel, Pedro Pascal really looked like the character, especially before
Yeah.
and after the apocalypse. But for Ellie, she doesn't look anything like her. However, her performance was definitely like you were watching Ellie from the video game. Like her mannerisms, like
Yeah.
just the way she talks, how she interacts with people.
I think as we progress through the episodes, like performance-wise, she'll just keep getting better and better.
I like also how they mentioned her friend. Inside, she was very hurt by when they talked about like her friend turning because one, we know what happens because we played the add-on game Left Behind, and two, it sets up for an episode that's probably all based on Ellie's character and her perspective.
Yeah. Oh, that's gonna be a heartbreaking episode.
That's gonna be, oh no. That's the thing, like they completely just break the whole cliches of video games because everything that
Yeah.
wasn't in a video game, normally when they adapt it to a movie, it's like extras that we don't need. Here, it does actually help and it adds to the story to the point where even us as the fans are not ready for what's gonna happen.
Yeah, this is the type of series that you're definitely gonna need like a box of tissues whenever you watch an episode because
Maybe therapy.
Yeah, maybe.
I will say my one issue with this episode was on Tess, the character Tess that Joel's with.
Yeah.
20 years later. In the video game, I mean, she's a side character. We don't really get too much of her. She's interesting enough, but in this, I feel like we focused way too much on her character and it did not work.
I do have a feeling she's gonna have like a big role on this show, and unfortunately for you,
maybe or maybe not.
it's hard to tell after one episode. Who knows?
know.
Maybe she'll get killed off next episode. We don't know. But yeah, I don't really have that many complaints about this episode, or really any. I can't think of any off the top of my head.
The whole thing with the neighbors in the beginning, at first I wasn't too sure, but afterwards
That was
before-
horrifying. When like the camera pans down, we see the blood on the floor. It's like, oh.
Yeah. What made the scene with her behind the girl more scary is the fact that they didn't really focus on the old lady in a chair. So having her emotion, like her mouth just almost as if she's turning, and then the dog literally shocked staring at her. The way that scene was directed, that was horrifying.
It really was.
It was so horrifying.
Yeah, it was like a horror movie, honestly.
To be honest, it made me think, why hasn't this man written a horror movie for the big screen? Because if he did, it would be like everybody would be talking about it.
I also like the ending for this episode.
I did too.
Yeah, I thought it, left things on a good place where it's like, oh, you want to keep watching to find out what happens next.
Yeah, and I also loved how, because I rewatched some clips from the video game because it's been a while since I played, but there was a difference. They added more to the show than they did with the video game, to when parts of Fedra actually catch them trying to escape, and he literally takes the gun and is about to kill them and tries to scan them to see if they are infected or not. And then when he's about to scan Ellie without knowing she's infected, but she knows they're gonna get a red sign, and he stabs him and he's about to literally shoot. I like how they added the part of when Joel was reminded of when he lost his daughter because of that. He took his anger out and beat the guy to death.
So overall, yeah, I thought this episode was great, honestly, and I feel like it's only going to get better from here, hopefully. Hopefully it doesn't turn to shit after 2 episodes.
I don't think it will. I have trust in Craig Mason, like I've said before. After watching Chernobyl and I know it's a limited series. This is 9 episodes. Chernobyl was only 5, but it's 5 great episodes. It's give it a little more time. 90% of me is sure that this is going to be great from start to finish. Another part of me is this isn't a limited series. There's more to the story. There's more they're going to add. So let's see how they deal with that.
Yeah, I just hope they don't make their own storylines and stuff, because I feel like that's when video game adaptations start to go off the rails and lose a lot of people. And we're obviously going to make another, podcast when the whole season wraps up and go over storylines we didn't like or characters or whatever and stuff we thought was brilliantly done. And just overall thoughts. I'm not sure when it's going to end. I assume mid-February, maybe. I'm not sure.
Mid-March.
That's kind of funny. It's because Pedro Pascal's other show, The Mandalorian season 3, starts on March 1st. So it literally starts before this ends. That's kind of crazy.
It'd be really cool if they have it where it's a week where Storm Reed's new film Missing, and then it's the second episode is Ellie's perspective of her friend, and Storm Reed plays her friend.
That would be pretty cool, but I'm not sure if they perfectly timed, the episodes to release, but who knows?
You never know. With Hollywood, you never know. Sometimes it's coincidence, sometimes it's planned.
Yeah. Maybe their agents were like, my client has to have their movie and the episode that primarily focuses on them air in the same week.
Exactly. So, if they do that for the second episode, I feel like it would make sense and it would be wise of them.
Yeah, I think it would. And then, that's not really a problem for people who end up binging the show, really, because
I will say the production design, the way they made the whole city and everything, comparing it to the game, it was almost like I was playing the game. Every single detail, it looked fantastic.
Yeah, it was like a replica of the game for the most part. It was really great.
With the towers colliding on each other a bit.
Yeah.
I'm glad to say that it was to my liking. Maybe a few flaws here and there, but if I had to rate this episode, I'd say 8.5 out of 10.
For me, it's probably a 9 out of 10. It was fairly great.
But yeah, I'm excited for next Sunday.
So am I.
Once it was over, I was just like, oh no. It's I knew it was going to be over because it felt like it was getting a little too long. But once it got to that last shot, I'm like, I want more.
Yeah, it's going to be stuck waiting week to week. That's the only downside, really.
But that's how the best shows like Breaking Bad became so popular and so addicting to people.
So, we're definitely looking forward to all the rest of the episodes, and, hopefully it sticks with the same quality or even gets better as it goes along.
But yeah, for first episode, there's really not much else we could really say. It just, it added more to the story, and it did it very respectfully. Every Sunday, it's just going to be on HBO if you have it. Definitely watch it because we recommend it. And if you're a fan of the video game, I doubt you'll be disappointed. I doubt it. But that's it for this episode 1 of season 2 of the Film Odyssey Podcast. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on our podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of that. Check out our website. We published a lot of topics, a lot of reviews. Dan, right? You did your top 10 best of 2022.
Yeah, I did. It's a pretty long list from what I remember. So, definitely check that out if you're interested in that.
Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you next time.